their mobile apps, they're outsourcing that development, and typically the developers are using perhaps the Google Maps API or Mapbox or something like that to deliver functionality that's actually available within the ArcGIS platform. So that spurred us on to bring forward this AppStudio product that we hope will enable our customers who are already ArcGIS users to build native apps for a variety of devices, push those apps out into the app stores, apply their own branding to them, and have their end users download them directly from Apple or the Google Play Store. So that's really what today is about. We have had mobile apps, as you know, for quite some time now, starting with Collector and then Explorer and now Navigator, and there's a variety of other apps coming along. And people have really responded well to these apps. But one of the things that our customers have frequently said to us is that they want to be able to put their own branded app in the App Store. So instead of having an Esri app, that's obviously an Esri app, they want to have an app that's obviously from Donegal County Council or Mainstream Power or whatever the end user actually is. And AppStudio gives you the opportunity to do that. At its simplest level, it allows you package up something that you already have on your ArcGIS platform, be it a feature service or a web map, and build an app around that which you then apply your own branding to and push into the App Store. So again, our last webinar was on Web App Builder for ArcGIS, and that was about how to build web applications with no coding. And today's webinar is about AppStudio, which is how to build apps with no coding. So we've taken a very similar approach with AppStudio as we have with Web App Builder. We've given you a framework in which you can build apps using a template or a series of templates that we provide to you, similar to the templates that are available in Web App Builder. And of course, the source code is made available to you so that you can delve down into the source of those templates and modify that using a developer version of AppStudio. We're not going to do that today. We're going to stick with using some of the templates that are available to you out of the box because we think that's probably what most of you will be interested in right now. But if you are interested, the actual AppStudio itself runs on top of the Qt SDK from Esri, so you can go and look up in developers.arcgis.com more information about the Qt or Qt SDK, and that will tell you that it's a cross-platform SDK that builds apps for many devices. And you can go down into that, you can download a developer edition of AppStudio, and you can actually build your own application entirely from scratch rather than using one of our templates, or you can modify one of the templates that we provide. The other great thing about AppStudio is that it uses things that you already have on your ArcGIS platform already. So if you have web map that you want to get out into the public domain as maybe an app on an Android device, a typical application might be a tourist style map where you have already built a story map, and what you want to do is package that up and put it out into the App Store so that it can be accessed with your own brand, and people can navigate around that map, use it on their mobile device wherever they go. Then AppStudio is for you. It really enables us to bring the power of the platform to bear by allowing you build your resources and assets on the platform and then turn those into beautiful web maps and then on into beautiful native applications for your particular device. At the moment, when you build an app on AppStudio, we provide everything you need to then push that app out to Google or out to Apple. In the Google case with Google Play, it goes pretty much directly onto the Play Store, or can go pretty much directly onto the Play Store. With Apple, there's a bit more friction in that process. They have to approve your app, and that takes about 2 to 3 weeks. But we have had apps go all the way through that process. You may have seen tweets last week around the app that was developed using AppStudio called 100 Great Geosites, which has a map tour of interesting geological sites across the UK and Ireland. and that is available from the App Store. So I suggest one of the things you might want to do after this webinar is actually download that app and take a look at it, because it's using the same technology that we're going to be demonstrating here today. So one deployment option is that you push your app out for public consumption out to the relevant App Store. Another deployment option is that you share apps across your enterprise. So the AppStudio comes with an application called AppStudio Player. Is that what it's called, Mikey?
AppStudio Player, yeah.
Which you can actually go to the App Store and download as well if you do a search on AppStudio Player. And this is a sort of a sandbox application that you download from the Apple Store or the Google Store, and it allows you play apps that you develop directly within the player without having to push those apps to the App Store. So if the intended audience for your app is not the general public, but it's actually the employees in your own company, quite a useful thing to do is download that player, install it on the phones of those people, and then they will be able to access the apps that you create with AppStudio without having to go out across to the Apple Store or the Google Store. And we've already mentioned that AppStudio enables you to save money on development by avoiding the double development charge, and also if you care to use the templates that we provide, it gives you a very quick way to build an app using your own resources without having to be an expert coder. So how does it work? Well, very much the same workflow as you saw us present a couple of weeks ago with Web App Builder. The first thing you do is you choose a template for the content that you want to push into your app. You configure up that template by modifying the various settings that we provide. You can test then on the devices. Typically we use the AppStudio Player for actually doing the testing. Then we go through a build process that generates installation files for Apple or iOS or whichever operating system you're interested in. And then if you wish, you can go all the way and publish that to your preferred store and have it approved and available as either a free-to-air or as a chargeable item on that store. And if you want to visit this website, you can also go and see apps that other people have built. There's a lot of map tour apps out there because story maps and the map tour template is a very popular way of getting information out there. But also this one is an interesting one. This one, Evacuate, was not built from a template. It was built from straight from AppStudio, but using the QML Qt interface there by coding up from scratch. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, I know you all like my webinars because I like to do a bit of tightrope walking and actually develop something while we're here talking to you. So that's my next step here. I'm going to go to my apps section of the website and build an app using AppStudio on the web. So you'll notice a couple of things here. I'm still in the AppStudio website, but I'm logged in with my my ArcGIS Online identity. So across all the browser views I'll be showing today, I'm already logged in and has access to all of the things I've already created. So in my console here, you'll see I've created a few applications already, and hopefully we'll get a chance to have a look at these in a little while. And also I want to show you that in my story map site, for instance, I've got a few stories. This Lunchtime in Dublin one you'll see in both, which is a story map, a map tour story map that we have turned into an application. And if I go to my developers.arcgis.com site, you'll see I'm logged in there as well. Here I am, and I've got various applications that have been registered there. So I'm being consistent in my use of the platform. I've created feature services or map tours that I'm going to be using. They're available to me within AppStudio. They're available to me within my developers account, and they're available to me within my straight ArcGIS account. I'm also logged into my Apple developer account, and if you want to build something for an iOS device or an Apple device, you need to, in addition to your AppStudio login, you need to have a developer account, an Apple developer account. It is not possible to sign an Apple application for use on an Apple device without actually doing the final build of that on a Mac. So in this case, I've signed up as an Apple developer. It cost me $100, which is not too bad given that we know that people are spending anywhere between $10,000 and $30,000 on developing Apple applications. So that's a negligible cost. But you do have to have a Mac somewhere in the process in order to finally build an application if it's destined for the Apple App Store. If you only want to build an Android app, of course, that's not the case. Okay, so I'm going to go through the process of creating a new app with you. And initially, we're presented with the different sort of templates that you can use to create an app. I've mentioned Map Tour, and I'm going to come back to that. That essentially takes a story map that you have and builds it into a native application. There is a template called Map Viewer that allows you to take any web map or any set of web maps that you have and build those into an application. And we think this could be quite useful for cases where you want to have an application that's presenting the end user with a gallery of maps associated with your organization. You might be a government organization that has maps on different topics, or you might be a local government that has maps on different topics. And you can build your Map Viewer application and populate that with a number of your popular web maps. And the third template that we have is this quick report template. And this is a template that allows people use their smartphone to submit some sort of a report back into your organization. So this could be a fix your street type application. But really, any issues that you want to observe in the field, any field work that you want to do and push back into the organization, the quick report template is a useful way, a very simple way of doing that, and that's what we're going to use today. So I'm going to start with this template. And before I do that, I'm just going to show you that over here in my ArcGIS Online account, I've already set up a feature service called Find and Fix that allows me to push in information, drainage issue, the date I observed it, the date I reported it, the date it was resolved, any comments, and image status. So this is just a straightforward feature service. I can pick one of these, drop it anywhere on my map using the browser. So I've set all this up. You're probably familiar with this, those of you who have used feature services. I just want to show you that it's a standard part of the ArcGIS architecture. And that's it. I could add a photograph to that if I wanted, but I'm not going to, but the feature service supports it. So let's go back here. So I'm going to start with this quick report template and use that to build my application. So you can see that it's a typical wizard-driven type process. I've got to set up some things about the application, and then I've got to set some settings about the feature service, etc., that I want to use. So I'm going to just go quickly through these things here and set them up. So the first thing I want is a sort of a logo or thumbnail. I'll choose that. I want a background image, and I'm going to choose this one which has sort of road stuff in it. I could put in a background color, etc. I want to change the app icon that could appear on the phone. And I could add, in this case I'm adding an overlay image which has the Esri logo in it, but it could be an overlay image which has your own logo in it, of course. And I'm going to give this app a name. Fix Me Quick. Okay, little description, and I can add more to that if I wish. I don't wish in this case. And then we go into quick report settings. So here I want to set up the actual feature service that I want to submit these reports into. And you can see I have access to my content, my organization content, or even public services that could be out there. So here I'm going to type in find and fix, which is the tag for the feature service I showed you a moment ago, and this is the feature service that we just looked at in my web map. So I'm going to select that, hit next, and within that feature service is feature layer that I want to shove my issues into. I'm going to say OK for that. I'm going to set my background image here again. I'm happy enough with the start button, and I am good, I think. Yeah. I was looking for the save and finish button. I'll save. So you see I get the message that my app configuration has been saved successfully, and I'll just save and finish that. So now it brings me to the console for that new app that I've just created called Fix Me Quick. You'll see some basic information about it when I create it. It will also tell me if anyone's downloaded and installed the app and the number of times the app has been open. So I've done this bit, which is actually setting up the app. I could now go in here and customize that. If I had developer skills, I could run the developer edition of AppStudio, and it would read that configuration from online and give me developer level access to it if I didn't want to use the template or I wanted to extend the template. I don't want to do that. I'll get into the build process in a moment. It's also built me a simple landing page for the app, because one of the things we're aware that people want to do with their apps is publicize them and provide a place from which people can download and access them. We'll come back to that and look at that in a moment. And it also gives me usage statistics and graphs, etc., on how many downloads I'm getting and how many people are using the app. So I'm going to come back here to the build process. So here it's looking for some further information from me before it can build the app. Now the first thing it's looking for is the client ID of the app, which is used by ArcGIS when actually building the app. So this is something that I get from my ArcGIS developer console. So if I go back here and just refresh this page, you'll see that the Fix Me Quick application has been added to my developer console. And if we click on it, what I want to do here is I want to register this application. And that gives me a client ID. And I can copy that client ID and go back to my Apple account, or sorry, my AppStudio account, and enter that ID. So that's the first step in that process. So here I'm linking through the build process for my app all the way through from AppStudio to my developer's account and back into my organizational account. Now for iOS, which I'm going to concentrate on here, you also need to sign the application. And it starts asking me more questions. So the first thing it's done is it's given me a bundle ID here, which is what Apple actually use. So I'm going to copy that bundle ID, and it's looking for a provisioning profile which says the phones that this app is destined for. Essentially, that they could be public, or it could be a limited set of phones or tablets that we want to use. And it's looking for a certificate file that identifies me as an Apple developer, and it's looking for a password for that file. Now, all of those things I'm going to get from from my Apple developer account. So I've already set up the certificates here. You'll see I've got 2 certificates in my name, one of which is an iOS distribution certificate that allows me to distribute this app to a limited number of phones. I could actually go and distribute it to the App Store as well and go through that approval process. Obviously, I'm not going to do that for the purpose of today's discussion. Then I have a number of apps that I've already made, and I want to add my new app here. So my new app is called, what do I call it, Mikey? Fix Me Quick?
Fix Me Quick, yeah.
Fix Me Quick will do. Okay. And you remember I copied the bundle ID from the previous screen. So there's my bundle ID that Apple recognized. And I can enable a whole lot of things here to do with Apple if I want to. I don't particularly want to in this case, but I can add things like iCloud compatibility, in-app purchases, etc. to my app, the capability to do those sort of things. So I'm just going to go with the defaults here and hit continue. So you can see it's built me an submit that. So that's my app setup. Down here I have my devices section. So from a developer point of view, when you're developing an app for Apple, you have access to up to 100 devices while you're in development mode, and you can add those devices here. So you can see I've got some UUID number, which you can get in the settings section of your app. What you need to do then is decide on a provisioning profile for my app, my Fix Me Quick app. So I've got some provisions here, but I'm going to create a new one for this particular app that we're interested in. So I'm going to add a new provisioning profile. I want a distribution provisioning profile, and I want it to be an ad hoc profile. So this allows me to distribute my app to a limited number of registered devices, i.e. the ones that are on the list that I clicked. And I then specify which app it is, select my app ID, and select the certificate that I want to use to identify myself. Click continue, and select the devices that I want this app to be available on, and click continue. And create a profile name for this. And I generate this provisioning profile. That's it done, and then I download it. So hopefully in my downloads up here now, I have my Fix Me Quick mobile provision file. So I'm all set. I go back to my AppStudio for ArcGIS, and then I have access to the provisioning profile. So we go to my download section, and there's my file, and my certificate file is this one, I believe, and my password I'll just type in.
We're getting a couple of reports here of the sound going, so we'll keep an eye on it. Hopefully it'll go through and run smoothly for the rest of the webinar.
Do you want me to speak up?
Maybe speak up in.
So I've given AppStudio everything it needs to do now in order to do the build for Apple iOS. So I'll just close that. You'll see I get a correct sign there, and now I can select the iOS build. I could at the same time also build for other devices, and let's just try that. I haven't done this before. It's always risky to do something you haven't done before, but you know me, I like to take risks. So I'm going to go for an iOS build and a Mac OS build for this particular app. And I'm going to hit build. So it tells me it's been queued and will be processed as soon as possible. Now actually, in real life, what I found is sometimes you need to do that twice when you're on a Mac for some reason. So I'm just going to quickly go through that again. Okay, so now the button turns a different color and I know that that build is in progress. So we're going to let that go. We'll come back to that in a moment. And I'm going to go back to the My Apps section. So you can see, here's my Fix Me Quick app. You can see I've done a few tests of this with different names. You saw the provisioning files, etc. for those there as we went through. And I want to look into a few other aspects of all of this. So let's go back to our sandwiches map. So over here we have storymaps.arcgis.com, and in here I have this beautiful story map which has information on great places to get your sandwich at lunchtime in Dublin. So this is just a straightforward story map. It's if you're used to using story maps, you'll sort of know the sort of functionality that there is here. You can click on the different sandwiches and zoom around. You can get information from them for them. You can zoom the photographs and the map will respond, etc. So this is our standard map tour, story map template. And what we've done is we've taken that and we've used, if you remember when I did the create a new app, the first option we got was to build a story map into an app. And that's what we did with Lunchtime Sandwich here. So if I go in here, you'll see I did that during the week. I've had 11 installations so far and 11 opens. And we can go into edit the app, and you'll see I set up the settings in exactly the same way as I showed you here. It's got nice text and images, etc. This app, which is why we like to use it. But what I want to show you in this case is the website that gets built. Sorry, I should have stayed in there. The landing page. So in addition, we have configured up the landing page for this app. So as we build the app, ArcGIS automatically builds us a promotional landing page for that app. So you can see you get some nice imagery. You can put this directly on your own website, or you can host it on ArcGIS Online. You can download it or host it. It gives you the links to the various stores from where you can get the apps. Gives you an introductory page. Tells you about what the app does, and this is all completely 100% configurable. Shows you some nice images and screenshots of what the app looks like. It gives you some information about the app. In this case, we're crediting Love in Dublin here, loveindublin.com, that actually built that list of great sandwiches in the first place. You can put a video in there. You can link to your social media. You might want to promote the app through your social media. So this is really important. It's sort of one of those nice-to-haves that we've built into the system, which is this capability to actually build a complete website to host the downloads for your app and to promote it. So let's go back here and see how our build is getting on. And okay, oop, some problem there. Okay, so I got something wrong while I was talking. Okay, park that. but still building for OS X. Okay. So I'm going to go into one of the ones that I built earlier on in a Blue Peter moment. So you'll see the last time I did this yesterday evening around tea time. Does this guy work hard or what, Mikey?
Tough out going, all right.
Yeah. It completed fine for me, and we have the download button here, so we can actually download that app. Now, the question is then, once your app builds, how do you actually get it onto your phone? Okay, so if you remember at the start, there's two different methods of getting it onto your phone. There's, if we go back here, there's the player, right? So you can download the player and you can access the player online, on your phone, and search your apps and basically use your app in the player. But there's also, after you go through the build process, you have actually an official build for iOS. So if I go in here, so you'll see I have my completed build here, and I hit download already. If I go to my downloads, up here, you'll see I have what's called an IPA file, right? So an IPA file is actually the same thing that you get from the Apple App Store when you go to the App Store. It's the installable for an Apple device. So the question comes then, if your app is not going into the App Store, how do you get that IPA file onto your device? And the AppStudio provides you with another application called OTA, over the air, that allows you to install that on your device. Can't actually demonstrate that to you, of course, because it runs on an Apple device, but essentially it allows you to log into your AppStudio account, and it brings up all of the IPAs that you've built with an an install button that allows you to install those or share them by emailing a link to that. And you just click on that, and it acts exactly as if you had accessed that app directly from the App Store. So that is called OTA. We'll put on a link to that somewhere, Mikey, maybe at the end of the presentation.
Yeah, we can send on a follow-on email after with a few summary links.
Okay, so let's go back to see if our Mac build has happened. Okay, so the OS X build has happened, and because I'm on OS X, I'm assuming that if I download this, I might be able to run it on the computer that I'm using here for the webinar. So what I've found in practice in doing this is that you just have to be a little bit careful when you're going through the connecting up the app IDs and the client IDs and the mobile provisioning file and the certificate. You need to get all your ducks very much in a line when you're doing that. I didn't, which is why this particular build failed. But it has worked for me on numerous occasions. So I was just in going through it quickly here in the webinar. It didn't work for me. But that's the only bit of this that I found anyway tricky. Okay, so we've got an installable file here now. Okay, I don't know what's... Okay, so I've got a setting in my operating system that doesn't allow me install this. Or can I change that quickly? Okay, I'm not going to go through all that, but if I was to allow myself install apps from unidentified developers, I would now be installing that app. I just won't go through that. So that's the process that we wanted to bring you through, and really what we want to do is encourage people to go back to appstudio.arcgis.com and maybe try this a little bit themselves. I mean, I've chosen the complex one, which is the Apple one, but if you actually do a build for Windows or for Android, this goes pretty smoothly and pretty quickly because you don't have to do all that signing. How do you feel about that, Mike? Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. And as you said, on Android, it's a lot easier than doing it for iOS.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have any questions coming in?
Yeah, we have a couple of questions coming in. The first one is from John here. And
Who?
John here. Yeah. And the question is, do the feature services that AppStudio uses have to be hosted on ArcGIS Online?
Good question, and one I don't know the answer to be honest. I don't think they do. I think you should be able to use a feature service from anywhere. Obviously, it'll have to be registered on ArcGIS Online because that's where it goes to find it when you're using AppStudio. But I imagine if you have your feature service set up with the appropriate security in hybrid mode, that you can pump those issues and observations directly back into an ArcGIS server hosted feature service.
We have a second question here from Patrick McGarry, and the question is, will AppStudio work with Windows tablets based on version 8.1?
I would say the answer to that is probably no right now. Supported platforms it supports Windows, but I don't think it'll support Windows tablets. I expect there will be Windows 10 support upcoming, but I think the operating system you're referring to there is slightly different. I'm just looking for a help file here. System requirements. No, Windows 7, OS X 10.8, Ubuntu, Windows 7, 8, SDK. Yeah, we might come back to you on that, Paddy. I suspect the answer is no, but I'd just like to verify that in a bit more depth.
Question from Paul Walsh. Is there an Android equivalent to the OTA app for iOS?
Mikey, how did you get the apps onto your Android device?
Well, you can get the APK file, which is the equivalent to the IPA, without actually using the OTA. So on Android, it's a bit simpler. You don't require that application.
Yeah. So basically, what you would do, I think, if I understand you correctly, Mikey, then is you do your build for Android. That generates the APK for you, and then you just put that APK on a website somewhere, and you connect to that website, tap it, and it comes down.
And it downloads. Yeah.
There's a little bit less friction in the Android process than there is in the Apple process. But then the flip side of that is that the Android ecosystem is a bit like the Wild West, whereas the Apple ecosystem is a nice corral with a white picket fence around it that you know you're safe inside.
A question from Barry Doyle. Can you explain a bit more about ArcGIS for developers and requirement for this in relation to AppStudio?
Yeah, so if you already have ArcGIS, you already have ArcGIS for developers. It's possible to license ArcGIS as a developer without having an ArcGIS organizational account. And to do that, you go to developers.arcgis.com, and this allows you build applications for the ArcGIS platform. But actually, if you already have licensed the ArcGIS platform, you thereby have access to this anyway. So there's no need to re-register. You can just log into developers.arcgis.com with your standard named user identity that you would use on ArcGIS. And it allows you to do some quite nice things in there that ArcGIS Online may or may not allow you to do. You can quickly set up schemas, you can set up hosted feature services and stuff like that in there very quickly. But the key thing which you saw me do was it allows you register your applications. And registering your application brings it into the authentication system that works within ArcGIS. So it allows you to build an application that prompts a user for their named user identity, and when they enter that, then gives the application that you build access to your organizational account. So you would use developers.arcgis.com to do that sort of thing. So when you want to link the application you're developing back into your organizational account through the ArcGIS platform, it's important to have registered your application, to have those keys. So if we look here, you'll see I've got a client ID, I've got a client secret, I've got a token, I've got all sorts of things that allow me then to access my ArcGIS Online organization.
We've a couple of more questions there, but I think we'll maybe answer one more and finish up with that. So we have a question here from Joe Dolan, and the question is, will AppStudio work against ArcGIS portal registered services, or would they need to be registered in ArcGIS Online?
No, I think the answer to that is no. They need to be registered in ArcGIS Online because AppStudio is on the cloud and it doesn't really have any knowledge of your internal portal. So the answer to that at the moment is no. Definitely for the web version of AppStudio that I've shown here, for the downloadable developer version, you may be able to develop against your portal, but I haven't seen that done.
And we will be sending out an email after the webinar, and so any questions will be answered in that, like with the last webinar.
Okay, and what's the next webinar, Mikey, and when is it?
So the next webinar...
Have I got it here somewhere?
It'll be based on Survey 123, which is actually an app that was built using AppStudio.
Oh, yeah.
So Eamonn's just going to pick up a...
Do we have an invite here to it? How do I get to that?
Oh, there's an invite, yeah. Send that.
In my GoToWebinar account.
Yeah.
So it should be in here, should it?
Yeah, so if you just click here and share. This one here. And go copy registration link. And that's so if you open that in your tab.
Good. So that's scheduled for Wednesday, 21st of October, same time. And we'll have a look at the new Survey 123 application from Esri Labs, which, as Mikey said, is an actual real-life application for field data collection again, this time survey-style field data collection that was built using AppStudio and deployed quickly by Esri Labs. It was actually used in the Nepal earthquake scenario for the World Health Organization to collect information on people who were affected by that earthquake.
And we'll include a registration link to that in the email as well, so there's no need to go searching for it.
Good. Okay, so I am going to say goodbye to you all, and thanks for attending. And we're going to mute out here, guys. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.